Good morning. Welcome to our VisitCasper CNFR morning show. We are 2 evening performances in. It is Thursday and it is pink night. So, well, not pink, ribbon night. So pick your color. Yes. You guys, it was a wonderful performance last night. We hit the ground running with performances. Again, all the evening performances are going to be a wrap up of the 3rd round. So by Friday night, we're going to know who's coming back for the short go on Saturday night. So before I introduce my guest, I want to give you guys a little recap. Yesterday we had a great conversation with coach at Garden City Community College, Jim Boy Hash, also the GOAT contractor. He shared a little bit of his mental health journey. If you guys missed that, please go back and watch. This is something that I know in the state of Wyoming, our mental health the state department is really reaching out to the agriculture world as far as that's concerned and making sure that there are resources available for everyone. So I just want to recap that. If you guys are struggling with anything, please reach out for some help because it is out there. That's one thing that Western Sports Foundation has been pushing heavily, is making sure that we have support for our cowboys and cowgirls. So I'll kind of open with that. Want to give a shout out to our 2 partners this year, one of which is 10 Texas Media. If you guys want to check them out, it's 10texas.com. They also have an app. They have a radio station. They have some great things. They really are focused on kind of building the Western industry and where the West is one. So we want to give a shout out to them. And then, of course, VisitCasper. They are kind of our driving force this year for all of our CNFR shenanigans. So I want to give a shout out to them. So without further ado, I'm so excited to have you on. I actually was listening to the podcast for the 2nd time this morning. We have today joining us Miss Shelby Rasmussen. Some of you guys might recognize that name. If you have been to the college finals, in the last 5-6 years.
Yep. Yeah, 6. I graduated in 21, but had a master's year. So 22 was my last year college here in Casper.
Perfect. So Shelby was a student athlete at Montana State University, then was a coach at Montana State. She had the opportunity to coach her younger sister, Paige, who, I'm pretty sure she's probably got some national titles, records, all the things.
Yeah.
So, however, this morning she is representing Learfield College Rodeo Division. So we're going to kind of touch base about that. So talk to me a little bit about what Learfield is. Like, we've heard Learfield. If you guys are following any NCAA sports or you have any other connections in the athletic world, you've probably heard of Learfield. So
yeah, Learfield kind of covers all things college athletics. We own the multimedia rights at over 180 schools. So we're at these universities already selling the sponsorships for basketball, football, all the other sports. So now adding rodeo into the mix, which has been really fun. We actually, yesterday we were announced and launched a year ago yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
So we started with 3 schools, Montana State, Cal Poly, and Wyoming. And we have expanded into to 10 and more to come. Our goal is 30 to 40. And it's been really fun to be able to bring more awareness and to these college rodeo programs and really bring them under this Learfield umbrella.
Perfect. So I'm really interested. Now, you guys already mentioned 180 partnerships with other universities.
Yep.
So it's now just going to kind of fall under with athletics, and then the rodeo teams and the programs will benefit in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. So we it's kind of unique. So we partner with these universities. So at each of these universities, we have staff that work in the athletic department.
Okay.
So for example, I use Montana State University as an example because I coach their rodeo there, and now they're one of our schools. We have a sales team of 4 that are already there, selling basketball, selling football, working within the athletic department. So then my job is to go in and teach them about rodeo and go through every rodeo 101 tidbit, take them to the rodeos, help with activation, and then help get them started selling rodeo sponsorships, which has been so fun.
Yeah.
It brings a whole new take and really takes that. Rodeo coaches and the student athletes have to do so much already. So it takes one thing off their plate, which has also been really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we talked about it off camera a little bit. I know there's a couple of schools and regions that hold raffles to raise money for their regional awards, for their saddles and that kind of stuff. And, I think University of Wyoming has a trailer that they raffle off every year. I always buy tickets. So I think if you can take that fundraising piece off their plate and allow them to really focus on, not just practice, but also the academics, and let the students be students and not have to worry about funding.
Yeah, because it's, what other sport are the kids go out in the community, which it also makes it unique, and we try to keep some of that in the program, but the student athletes are having to practice and go to school, and then are also trying to get the sponsorships for their rodeo. So we're trying to have a good balance of saying, hey, we'll come do this for you and take over a lot of this, but we still want them involved. So we found fun ways to keep students involved, the coaches involved, but take a little work off their plate.
Yeah. So give me, I'm kind of running through some basketball games and other sports activities that I've been to at the collegiate level. We've got t-shirt tosses, free throw competition, like there's a bunch of different things. So if we're going to bring, like, how much of that are you guys going to bring over into the rodeo world? And what does that look like?
It's been kind of fun because now with these sales teams that have worked in other sports, they have a lot of those kind of ideas, like you're saying. So it's been fun to then take those and put a rodeo twist onto things. Or traditional things that you've seen at rodeos that now you can make into a sponsored asset. Like I think of, we did a dance contest that was sponsored by a boot company at Montana State, and they gave away boots and, things like that, where we've maybe been doing them at these rodeos, but now we can generate revenue from them. Things like, and then bringing unique things that you maybe wouldn't think of, like Qdoba did a burrito drop with parachutes, just things like that, where it's like things that maybe we don't necessarily always think of, but what fun ways to fill breaks in a rodeo and create some revenue.
Well, and I think what you do too, we talked a little bit about production off camera, but you add a little element to the production piece that kind of engages the fan experience and maybe kind of brings them along a little bit more than just sitting back and watching.
Absolutely. And the fun thing too is the more revenue we generate, the more resources for that rodeo.
Right.
You can add things like we're really working on, streaming and bringing in interviews and victory laps. And once you have some resources to do that, for one, it creates more things to sell. Victory laps are so valuable for a sponsor, but it also makes a rodeo entertaining, and it adds a level of fun for contestants. So it's fun to kind of see that snowball.
Well, and again, kind of along productions, because I lived in that world for so long. You bring a little bit more, maybe a little bit higher level of production to some of those regional rodeos. Yeah. Whereas I think when the coach is when the coach and the team is responsible for putting the production together, on their mind really is just, how can we get, enough kids to work the shoots for this, and how do we get enough volunteers to work down here? And so the production end of it is really non-existent. Like always there's the national anthem and there's a prayer. And everything in between just kind of gets lost in the hustle. And so it allows for more sponsorship opportunities and to put on a little bit better production. And I think that there are probably some college rodeos that are doing a really good job already. But I guarantee you and I can think of one or two offhand that was just like it kind of felt like a slack because we just had to get through all the contestants. Yeah.
And I really have a passion. I love event production. I've spent a lot of time in that world. And so it's been fun for me to create some production opportunities, and then vice versa, then that creates some sponsor opportunities. And then being able to have the money to hire production help has been huge. Wyoming does that, hires a production company, comes in and runs our video board and the openings, and say Montana State's now kind of doing that. So it's been fun to watch that grow, not only from a revenue and sponsorship standpoint, but from the rodeo and the production side of things.
So I know that we've talked offline a little bit. Bullfrog Creatives has kind of switched over from media focused to more student athlete and coach focused. And so one of the things that I'm interested in is, from a recruiting standpoint, when student athletes are trying to make that decision on where they go to school, we talk about making sure it's a good fit, making sure the coach is the right fit, that's the right coaching philosophy for you. How, in your mind, how does a Learfield college or how should a Learfield college play into maybe that decision?
Yeah, I think there's so many things that it impacts. I think from just high level, like just the rodeo the home rodeo you get to compete in. I think it'll take a couple years for some of these newer schools, but I think it's going to be really cool, some of these rodeos that we're going to get to put on. And speaking from experience, like going to Montana State and having the rodeo and brick where the CNFR used to be, and with the production, that's so fun to be a part of. And then really financial support, I think, is going to be huge at these schools. We've already seen it at some of our originals, but more revenue means more scholarships and opportunities for the students, and more resources. And I mean, that what the coaches and the programs do with the money we bring in is totally up to them. Gotcha. So I think it's going to create so many opportunities for the kids that go to these schools and these programs.
So one of the things that if you look at the Learfield website, one of the things that's mentioned is the NIL, which is name, image, and likeness. So as you may or may not know, the NCAA just opened up that student athletes are now allowed to kind of make money off of their name, image, and likeness. And I had a great conversation, it's probably been over a month ago at this point, but with an NIL kind of company that works with student athletes. And we got to talking about rodeo, and I feel like rodeo contestants have been doing this, just not calling it that. And so I'm interested in what your perspective is on what Learfield can do in that realm for the NIL for student athletes that are rodeoing. Yeah,
like you said, it's been a thing for rodeo athletes. I mean, we can wear patches on our shirts and have sponsors. I mean, so many of the kids that are here in Casper are pro rodeoing with sponsors and all of that.
Absolutely.
But I think it's fun, and I think it's fun for our Learfield people to kind of have now the ability to do some NIL stuff, but without all the restrictions, because it's still kind of, you're still jumping through hoops with NCAA, and where we're kind of open to do a lot of cool stuff with rodeo and really unique things. And rodeo athletes are so great to work with too. So that's been really fun for us to have a different kind of student athlete to work with, and be able to do some of these NIL type deals.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you tell us about, have you guys been able to I don't even know, manage an NIL agreement that you could share with us?
I'm trying to think I don't know if I can think of something like super specific off the top of my head. Everything's still new. I haven't been a part of every single specific deal. I'm kind of more high level. But I think we have some cool stuff in the works, and I'm excited about some things that could be in the future. For sure, as far as
and I think, I've mentioned Western Sports Foundation a couple of times, but they're doing a lot of training at the professional level and now at the collegiate level to help these student athletes and professional cowboys run their rodeo careers as a business. And so they're getting a lot of training, kind of social media how-tos and not-tos. But I think that more and more student athletes are already kind of looking that direction and having the expertise that I think Learfield can bring will be able to sharpen that. And like you said, there's a ton more restrictions as far as the NCAA is concerned, where we're not really tied in that regard.
And it's kind of fun too, speaking of like, looking past college and that kind of things. It's fun to see what these different schools have kind of, how they brought those kids in and how they're preparing them for, someone like me. If we'd have been, I'd love to work with Learfield if I'd have been in college when they were doing the sponsorships. Cal Poly does like an internship program where one of the two students helps our Learfield team do all that sponsorship activation and all of that. So I think it's another cool way of like bringing these students and bringing them into this company that is huge in college athletics, and really exposing them to some cool parts of the sponsorship side of things, not just in rodeo, but in other sports as well.
Yeah, well, and you bring up a good point. Like, they're only going to be student athletes for 5, maybe 6 years, depending on if they served in that student director role. So, and I think a lot of you guys have heard me say this, but the relationships that you build in college are going to help you down the road. So that's one of the major kind of underlying vision of the community that we built, was that you want to build these relationships, because I live in my hometown, so I do stay in touch with a lot of kids that I knew when I was growing up, but I would say the bulk majority of my good friends and my good friendships were built when I was in college rodeo.
Yes, me too, completely. I am totally on the same page as you there, so I agree.
Well, so we kind of buzzed through the meat and potatoes, I think, of the conversation. So I'm going to step back a little bit. Why don't you, if you would, just give us a little bit more in-depth recap kind of your college rodeo career and like where you've been. I see some bling on your wrist. Like I'm going to make you toot your own horn here, which is I'm super uncomfortable, but do it. Yay.
Yeah. Okay. So I rodeoed for Montana State University. Loved it there. So fun being a Bobcat. The support for that program is unreal.
Listen, for those of you that know, I was not a Bobcat. I was a Grizz. But I'm going to keep it in the Big Sky region.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have to share the love. Also, my aunt and uncle were boosters for so many years.
Okay.
So I do have a love for Bobcats.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Just a little bit different.
good. You.
Good morning.
So I rodeoed at Montana State University. I competed in all of the girls' events. I team roped, breakaway roped, goat tied, and barrel raced. As a freshman, I was the reserve all-around champion, so got to come here in the breakaway roping and the barrel racing. So fun. Eye-opening as a freshman.
Yes.
As a 19-year-old coming in here in the big yellow arena and all that. But it was so fun. Got some round points in the breakaway roping. Came back my senior year in the breakaway roping and goat tying, and that was the year our women's team won the nation. I was on the team with my sister, so that was really special.
Yeah.
Really special memory, college rodeo wise. And then rodeoed 5th year, and then got to coach at Montana State, which was so fun. I think I loved competing at Montana State University, but I think coaching was and at the CNFR, but coaching was sure rewarding and so
That's
fun.
great. That's great to hear. I mean, I think it's really common. First of all, I would like to say that there's substantially more women coaches in the college rodeo world now than there was, my time is a long time ago, than there was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And I think we're seeing that growth every year as far as women stepping into that coaching role. So I love that. But I also think that coaching directly after college, I'm seeing that to be a trend also. There's Tyree Cochran is now coaching, Faith Hoffman is now coaching, and they were both competing here last year. So that move right away into the college rodeo coaching field, I feel like is a really great transition.
Yes. It's challenging though, because like I was coaching kids that I rodeoed with, right? Which is like
I have thought about that.
Challenging, which I think it was rewarding and I think it was great. I had an amazing relationship with the entire team. Yeah. But it is challenging.
Yeah, because you move from peer to I mean not boss, but effectively leadership role.
Yes.
That now they're taking directions from you.
And especially somewhere like I coached where I rodeoed.
Yes.
So I didn't go somewhere else. So that was like those kids, like the kids that I was on the team with, where I was then the coach the next year. But I really have no complaints. Like I think it was great, but just it was challenging, but I think a good thing too.
So how many years did you coach?
Just one. So I actually and I never imagined leaving. Like it wasn't something where I was like, oh, this is just a transitioning page. Yeah. I loved it, but Learfield had reached out to me, and it was just an opportunity I couldn't pass up. I'm so passionate about the Western industry and college rodeo, and knew that this could be a big opportunity to grow it and elevate it. And I have a passion for media and event production, and this was kind of a way to get to do all of it. Yeah. And so it was hard for me to leave coaching, but I love this role. So it's
perfect. So I know since you kind of took this position with Learfield, you've done a few media things. Yes. Tell me about what you guys did with Western Sports Foundation, right?
Yeah. That was fun. My dad and I were on Dancing with the Rodeo Stars for Western Sports Foundation.
I wanted to be there so bad because it looked like a great event.
It was a blast. Like it was so fun. I didn't imagine it being that fun. I was nervous and I had to talk my dad into it. I was like, they asked us, I was like, come on.
That's so weird to me because he's been dancing for years anyways in the arena.
So that was fun. My dad and I hadn't seen each other. I lived in Arizona all winter. So I flew to Texas. We flew in like 4 days early and practiced. And then it was so fun. What a great Western Sports Foundation is so great for our industry. So it was fun to support them and get to do a fun event with them for sure.
Perfect. And then tell me about your 30 under 30.
Yep. So I was named to be one of the Cowgirl Magazine 30 under 30 this year. So got to go spend the weekend in Texas in Fort Worth with for the weekend of the American and with 29 other amazing women in the Western industry. And what a weekend. I mean, just meeting those girls, let alone all of everything Cowgirl Magazine did for us there and being recognized, it was an honor. That was one of my goals. So it was really special.
The 30 under 30, that's newer. Yes.
This was year 5.
That's what I was thinking. Because I think 2020 was the first year they kind of launched some stuff. I remember watching it on the screen. but I couldn't remember if it was 2020 or 2021. So what a great class. So now are all the other classes invited back?
Yes. Yeah,
so that's a great opportunity also.
Yeah, they did a big gala and all the other classes, a lot of the other girls were there, and speakers. Judy Wagner was their award winner and she spoke. So it was a really awesome weekend. I had people from Learfield come, which meant a lot. Really showed they were really supportive. So it was a great weekend.
Super cool. Well, so how long are you, is it good to be back? Kind of weird to be back?
I was just talking to my sister that it's kind of weird. Like I've always been here and I didn't qualify all of my years of college, but I've always been here in some role, whether it's cheering on my sister, you know, coaching. So now to be here in kind of a step back where I'm not, you know, I'm more of a spectator. I'm than anything. I'm meeting with coaches and working while I'm here. But as far as during the rodeo, I get to go watch the rodeo, which
whole
is weird.
Different experience.
And I haven't been here for a week, which is also
probably easier.
I came. So definitely very different. My first stop today was going to the national champion trailer and taking a picture of my sister. I told her I would as soon as I got here. So
that's cool. That's very cool. Well, I appreciate your time this morning. We're going to take a little break and we'll be right back. We're going to do a little bit of recap and talk about some highlights of the rodeo last night. And then we do have some student athletes joining us from Montana State. So now I can't remember their names. Alexis McDonald.
And Wyatt Jensen.
I could remember Wyatt and I couldn't remember his last name. So if you guys are buzzing around downtown Casper, swing on by, say hi, get some autographs, and we'll be right back.
And stand up with that kind of don't give up tough. More of those proud to be, I think the world needs more cowboys.
Sorry, I was just commenting how I have to squint to see the screen. Jeez, we're not even that far away. Thank you for that, Age. You guys, welcome back. So I know that you did not make it into town last night to go to the performance, but you were able to watch. So what were some takeaways for you from last night's perf?
I mean, it was a great performance last night. It was fun watching another 1-8 by Haley Grant. Amazing. Two in a row. That's impressive. She's fun to watch. Jaden Whitman from Montana State was a 3-8 in the bulldogging. That was exciting. He's sitting great in the average.
Well, and I think that the Big Sky region as a whole has done fairly well, not just in the steer wrestling, but across the board. I think there were a lot of MSU girls up last night.
Megan McGinley was 2-6 in the breakaway. We had 2 calf ropers. They're actually splitting like 3rd and 4th, I think. So they should make it back in the tie down roping, Wyatt Jensen and Bodie Spring. So some good showing. We have some more up tonight and tomorrow night from MSU and the Big Sky region. So.
You know, I think it's super interesting. There's always that level of there's always a competition between Grizz and the Bobcats, but there's also that level of rooting for your region.
Yeah, it's fun when you get here because your region's almost like your team in a way.
Yes.
I think of the softball tournament, like it's region, it's not school versus school, it's region versus region. So I think that's fun. It kind of brings the region together.
So it's funny that you mentioned the softball tournament because they had the softball tournament yesterday. We were just talking to Alexis about it. And I think for the first time, I don't want to say ever, but I'll say first time in a long time, the coaches team played in the championship.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, we weren't very good last year.
And even though we tried, we did not get any secret weapons from the Casper Spuds baseball team.
Wow.
We did try. So it was, I'll say, it was legit, all coaches team.
Wow.
So they lost to the West Coast region, which
they're always good.
I would be interested to see if they had to do a mercy call on the coaches, which I don't know. They're going to brag about it anyways. If you see coaches walking around slowly and sore, that's probably why, because I don't think any of them are athletic enough to play softball. And even some kids are probably thinking, when we were talking to Alexis about that, she's like, we don't play softball in Montana.
No, it's funny. You get some of these regions that is like you can tell they all play. And then you get like Big Sky region, we're having to explain the rules. Like these kids have never played softball
That would be me.
before.
Where am I supposed to go?
I didn't know last year. But
anyway, so side note there. What are some other things that you, I don't know. Sorry, guys.
The goat tying has been very interesting to watch this year. I know you talked about it yesterday on the show, but goats are a little bigger, so it's a little different goat tying, which I think is fun.
I'm glad that you mentioned that,
Yeah.
because I made a comment last year that I think it's great to, I also thought I was going to be like kicked out of the room when I said this, but I think it's great to see those fast ties. But at the same time, I want to see the best goat tire rise to the top.
Yeah.
And so if you throw, not that I want to see him tie, I mean, I don't want to see all the time Billy goats, so don't send me hate mail, but I want to see the cream rise. I want to see the cream rise to the top.
Well, and I think from an overall standpoint too, it's better for our sport. I think when we get to really tiny goats, that's when we get the eyes on us. So I think it's refreshing to see some bigger goats this year, and I think it's fun to watch. It's making these girls like really, they're kind of running around and they're bigger and heavier. So
well, and I'm interested. We talked to Jim Boy about it yesterday, as you said, but in your mind, being so much closer to that competition time than I am, like, what changes if you've been tying 40-pound goats and now you're tying 50-pound goats? What's the big change? I mean, why is it so different?
I think there's a couple ways to look at it. I think it depends on your style, because you see so many different types of styles when you get here. Like, really, Montana Big Sky region, there's not a lot of stuffing catching any of that, where down south there is, but we tend to tie the bigger goats. So I think it's very dependent on the regions and where these the styles that these girls are tying in. But
so I'm gonna have you explain stuffing.
So stuffing, and I'm not like super well versed in it. I guess I don't know that I was a gatherer, but it's pretty much, it's catching the legs in the air with your legs, gathering in the air with your legs. So when you come down on the goat, ideally their legs are together, which there's so that's interesting with longer leg goats versus small goats. There's so many
I mean, I think the shorter leg goats that we were talking about yesterday with JBH, those are probably a little bit more difficult to gather in the air because they're short. But then I also feel like those goats that we have now, they have some really, I mean, they're like deer legs, for crying out loud. They're long. So long. And so I think they could go either way. So if you do gather or you scoop or whatever the lingo is now, it goes either way.
And I think this is the coach side of me coming out. I think the key on these bigger goats and maybe a little wilder is just really, I think it comes from girls like getting into the correct position and flanking. I think you have to do everything really correct to make everything. And if you're correct and deliberate, you're gonna really kick butt on these goats, I think.
So I've talked about this a couple of times, but we had the privilege of hosting Stacy Martin and a handful of the girls that she has tied with, and I am kind of to the point, like, what could have changed in 25 years? It's not been that long. It has been a while, but watching them really it gave me a good insight into some of the things that have changed. And Stacy has a physics background, and so she's been able to bring that into the goat tying world. And a lot of what she teaches, even the young kids, it's very physics based. And it's pretty amazing.
It's amazing. The sport goat tying is fascinating to me. Just what girls have, like, I think of my sister, like, she completely treated it like hardcore training. Like, she was in the gym every single morning on top of practice. Like, she was squatting goats. Like, the athleticism that these girls have brought to the sport in the last few years is unreal, and the level of training and the level of precision is insane.
Well, so outside of the goat tying, I feel like I always fall back and always talk about goat tying every morning.
I know it's fun to talk about here. And the thing about the CNFR, it's kind of the NFR of goat tying. Like, this is the biggest stage in goat tying. It's fun to watch. But
did you hear JBH talk about how he would like to see goat tying go a little bit farther, like the breakaway? I was like, I don't know that that's going to be a popular opinion, but I was surprised to hear it.
There's been talk of it, and I think it's big down south. It's not as big up here, but it's big down south, and I don't know if it'll be to the point like breakaway roping is, but I think there's potential for it to grow.
Well, and even if there's not, there's still so many more opportunities.
Exactly. Just like the tie for the crown and some of those big events that they do now that weren't even there 5 years ago, and it's a little unique in the fact that you're pretty age restricted. Right. Your body.
Which probably is good, I feel like.
I don't think I could tie a goat anymore. I'm 25. So, that is the one unique thing about go tying is your body's kind of done after college.
Yeah.
But there are a lot more opportunities in high school, college, junior rodeo.
Yeah,
now, which is
for
awesome.
sure.
Yeah.
I do want to make mention of some bareback riders last night.
Yeah.
Weston Timmerman has laid out 3 amazing rides again.
Yep.
I mean, he even made a comment in another interview that he just is always on fire in Casper.
It's fun to
whether
watch.
it's a professional rodeo or now the CNFR. So he is our reigning national champion for the bareback riding. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I'm pretty sure that y'all have seen him. You know him. You recognize the name. His uncle, Kelly Timberman, also an NFR bareback rider, world champion, is from Casper. So they are originally from Casper. So I think you probably have the entire community rooting for you. But he is doing well. Wasey,
Shala.
I was going to say Shala,
I think,
also doing very well. Came in at the same team. They rodeo from the same area, Clarendon College, but also doing well, not only in the bareback riding, but the bull riding too. And so what a great showing for them.
Yeah.
And Wasey is a freshman.
It's so impressive. I mean, the only one to cover 3 bulls so far. He's great. Their team has to be sitting so good. So they're fun to watch. For sure.
I'm trying to think. Barrel racing. I did not get to watch the barrel racing last night.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch all week. I mean, I would say this is probably the fastest year of barrel racing I've seen.
More, I mean, we haven't set any records, but I think there's just more
consistently fast.
Yes.
Like
and usually we'll see like a one-off here and there of like kind of that sub 14, and it just seems to be happening more frequently.
Yeah, exactly. Casey Matthews is so fun to watch. 3 very solid runs. She's gonna be fun on Saturday. It's just been really fun to Taylor Moykins for Montana State. She's up, I think, tomorrow night. She was really good on 2, past national champion, got 2nd last year, so I'm excited for her too.
Yeah, maybe she can get a little redemption this year. I wouldn't call this work. So we're going to take a little break, and I'm going to try to grab our student athletes. I see them walking around now. So we'll grab our student athletes and interview them real quick, and we'll do a quick wrap up. So you guys stay tuned.
And stand up with that kind of don't give up tough. More of those proud to be. Yeah, I think the world needs more cowboys.
All right, hang tight, guys. We're going to get squeezed in here. I should know that it always takes a little bit more than 30 seconds to get swap people. So first of all, I want to say, did y'all sign any autographs this morning?
Yeah, we signed quite a few.
Perfect. So if you would, please introduce yourselves. We can tell, we see where you're going to school, but tell me a little bit about yourself, maybe what you're studying, what you're here, what event you're competing in.
Go ahead.
I'm Alexis McDonald. I'm originally from Gardner, Montana. Rodeoing from Montana State, and
Perfect.
I'm majoring in business marketing.
Okay, what are you competing in this week?
The barrel racing.
Great. How is your, how's your week been?
Pretty good. I was a little long on my first one, but it's just going to get better with each round, and I'm up Friday night.
Friday night, saving the best for last, right?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Wyatt Jensen. I'm from Blackfoot, Idaho. I'm a freshman at Montana State, and I'm going into animal science. I'm in the calf roping this week.
Okay, and did you go last night?
Yes, ma'am.
How did that go? So your third run, just want to remind everyone, third run last night.
Yep. I was a little long on my first one. I tied a good second one, and I drew a really good calf last night, and I was 9-3. So
okay,
we're sitting third in the average, third in the round right now.
Great. So looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Still kind of have a little bit of a waiting game.
Yep. We have a perf tonight and a perf tomorrow to see kind of how everything ends up. So
great.
Yeah.
And when are you out on Friday night? What's the draw?
I'm first out Friday night.
That's not bad. That's not terrible draw.
Odds.
Yeah. That's not terrible. Then you don't have to wait too much longer after that.
Yeah, waiting. I don't like anticipating.
Yes.
That's for
yes,
sure.
I would agree. So talk to me about, as a freshman, what were you looking forward to the most coming to Casper? Besides competing?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, obviously that. But
Yeah. The Bozeman Rodeo was a great experience, and I mean, it's a crazy atmosphere in there. And so I was really looking forward to see kind of how that compared to Casper, and Casper been great. It's been awesome. The arena's amazing. The calves have been really good. So it's just been great experience so far.
So let's talk about that. I competed in the Big Sky region. The brick is very comparable to the event center.
Yep.
I would say the brick's smaller.
Yep. Just a little bit.
So is that, I mean, outside of the crowd, because I think the brick does prepare you in that regard. It's pretty good because they always pack the house. But what else can you compare? I mean, give our viewers a little bit of a comparison here.
You know, the box is a little narrower in Bozeman, a little narrower, and I think maybe a foot or so shorter. The start has been very similar in the calf rope, but I mean, it very, very similar. And so it's been nice in that aspect. So I mean, that's.
How about for your event, barrel racing?
Barrel racing, I mean, the holding pen's a little smaller in the brick. Like, you can't line up in the tent in the back, so you kind of have to wait your turn. But other than that, like, the pressure, I feel like in Bozeman, for me anyways, is a little more intense just because that's your home crowd and it's so loud down there. But it 100% like sets us up for the CNFR.
Well, and one of the unique things too, when you're coming, you know, we've done a lot of video in the tunnel, but when you're coming, once you get in the building, you really can't hear much until you pop out right at inside the building. And so that can be a little deceiving when you're getting ready back there. Like you can think like, oh, it's not too loud, it's not too bad, and then as soon as you pop in, it's substantially different.
The first night my calf horse, he's usually pretty good, and I was in the back and he's kind of taking a nap, and I walked out there and he was like, oh man,
this is
all here. So
but at the same time, like, it gives me chills just thinking about, because you never forget what it's like to come up that tunnel and awesome. Pop out in there and hear. Surreal, very cool. How about you? What were you looking forward to?
I was just looking forward to like being with my team because we got 12 of us here at the CNFR.
Great showing.
Getting to compete at that high level is so much fun. Like, I feel like that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you some questions. I have created a college rodeo recruiting platform. And so what I want you guys to do is, if you were to have a conversation with a student athlete, junior, well, any high school student, what are some tips that you guys would give them about the transition from high school to college, or what to look for in a college to make sure that they land in the right place?
I feel like the biggest thing coming to Montana State, for me anyways, I felt like a lot of pressure. But honestly, like at the end of the day, you're just going to another rodeo, but you're just with college now.
Yeah.
You know, like I put a lot of pressure on myself freshman year. I'm like, I have to do good. I got to make short go. But you just gotta like be yourself, not take it too hard.
Yeah.
You end up getting with the groove eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming out of high school just last year, it was pretty different. I went to a small high school. You know, all of our high school rodeos were fairly small. We didn't come from a super big state, and so coming out of high school into Bozeman, it was a really big change for me.
Culture shock.
yes, and so I just try and take it in, honestly. I mean, that's all you can really do. Just try and learn as much as you can and just see everything. Because, I mean, it's a big city compared to where I came from. So, so it's fun.
Well, it's getting to be a big city.
Yeah. It's getting crazy now.
So if each of you, give me 2 reasons why you chose Bozeman.
I've always been a Bobcat. My sister, she rodeoed for MSU, and we've just always loved Bobcats, number 1. And number 2, I just liked how we have all the support in Bozeman with the Shoot Boss Club and everyone. We just have a whole community behind us.
Perfect.
So I love
that. I wanted to go into something animal related, and I looked into their animal science program pretty hard, and I looked at a few others, and they seemed to have exactly what I wanted as far as schooling wise went. And then I came to the short round Sunday my senior year, and that was crazy.
There was a lot of blue and yellow.
Yeah, it sold me right then and there. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate your time, and
thank you for having me.
Congratulations for getting here, and good luck the rest of the week.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Stay tuned. We will be back for Visit Casper CNFR Morning Show tomorrow morning. Let's see, Friday morning. We are supposed to have Sandy Bob Forbes, who is the rough stock coach here at Casper College. He's going to join us in the morning. If y'all know Sandy Bob, this could be very entertaining. So you might not want to miss this one. You guys, thank you so much for joining us. I want to give a shout out again to Shelby Rasmussen with Learfield College Rodeo Division. Also a shout out to Montana State University for getting us some cowboys and cowgirls this morning. Really appreciate their time. I know that they have a pretty busy schedule this week, so we appreciate their time. If you guys are walking around downtown, please visit Lou Tauberts. They have been so gracious enough to host us this week, coming in early and letting us set up. We appreciate that. We appreciate their hospitality. And also want to give a shout out to 10 Texas Media, 10texas.com, and make sure you check out the App Store for their app. They have a wonderful Western directory for those people that are building back into the industry. Want to give a shout out to them. You guys, we will catch you tomorrow.
And stand up with that kind of don't give up tough. More goes pride.